I am so excited for today's episode because how you communicate at work can impact how successful you are as an employee, a boss, and a leader. You've asked for it, and backed by popular demand, communication phenom and trial attorney Jefferson Fisher is here to talk with you and me today about mastering communicating with employees, with bosses, and with teams inside and outside of work. These are simple but powerful tips and tools that can single-handedly impact your career, so let's dive in together. Jefferson Fisher is a trial lawyer, a fifth-generation award-winning attorney, writer, and speaker. His work has gained him millions of followers all over the world through short, simple, practical social media videos teaching people how to argue less and talk more. Whether it's handling a heated conversation, dealing with a difficult personality, or standing your ground with confidence, Jefferson helps you communicate during life's everyday arguments and conversations, and his brand new book called The Next Conversation, Argue Less, Talk More, is out now. Jefferson says you can change everything about your life by what you say next. And you and I are in for a treat because Jefferson has stepped away from his busy legal practice. He got on an airplane, he flew here to be with you and me today. Whether you're listening for yourself or because someone that you love shared this episode with you, I want to welcome you to the Jamie Kern Lima Show podcast family. Remember, this episode is not just for you and me. Please share this with every single person you know because it can change their life too. Before we jump into this episode, I'd be so grateful if you take 2 seconds to click on the follow or subscribe button on the app you're listening or watching the podcast on. It'll help you because you're going to be the very first to get the episodes, and it's going to help the show because by you following it, it's more likely to be promoted to others to discover. And if you leave a 5-star review, that would be even more amazing. And just thank you so much. This is our show together, and it truly means so much to me.
Jamie Kern Lima is her name.
Everybody needs Jamie Kern Lima in their life.
Jamie Kern Lima.
Jamie, you're so inspiring.
Jamie Kern Lima.
Jefferson Fisher, welcome to the Jamie Kern Lima Show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jamie. I'm honored to be here.
I'm so excited you're here.
Yeah.
Wow, what has happened with you, with your advice, with your videos? It has become a phenomenon.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. You're very sweet. Thank you. Yeah, it's truly been a blessing. And right now I'm just holding on.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited so much to dive into today. Something that affects every single one of us almost every day of our lives is how we communicate or don't at work. Whether it's as an employee, as a boss, as a leader, as a member of a team. Can you talk about like some of the most important tips for how we communicate in the workplace?
What I strongly advise in communicating in the workplace is understanding that the responsibility is often on you to make sure that your message is understood. When you're at the workplace, it's not family. It's not, some of these are acquaintances and strangers, and let's face it, there's people you don't really even like. But when you take the responsibility, when you own the idea of being understood, it shows character and it shows confidence. So if there's a breakdown in miscommunication, and this happens all the time, whenever you have miscommunication, there's typically the desire to blame the other person for not getting it, when true leadership says, I could have done a better job explaining that. When you have that kind of light bulb moment of using yourself as taking that ownership, taking that responsibility, people are attracted to that. You also want to make sure, I'd say too, that you use smaller sentences. Whenever, and that goes to your confidence in the same way, when you email somebody, if you send an email that is 3 paragraphs, what's the likelihood of it being read? What's the likelihood of it being absorbed and remembered? Very low. Our attention spans are just, they're not going to be great with that. So the shorter you can keep that communication, the better. And with 3, I would say you need to understand and learn how to prime rooms prime conversations.
Explain that.
Yeah, and this goes into, I'll give a sneak peek of rule number 3 is saying it to connect, and the ability to use frames in conversations. There's so many different ways that we get worked up at the workplace to have that difficult conversation, to let go of somebody, to give them criticism, because you're afraid of how they're going to behave. You're afraid of how they're going to react. You're afraid of the outcome. That's what happens when we get nervous before those conversations. We're more focused on the outcome, or they're not going to like me anymore, or they're going to think I'm not a competent employee or boss or supervisor, whatever it is. But frames are ways to help break that down. And you do that really in 3 ways. All you need to do is tell them what you want to talk about. You need to tell them how you want to feel at the end of the conversation. And then you need to get their acknowledgement. It's as simple as that.
Okay, is this as an employee, as a boss, as a team leader, all of it?
Any of them.
Same practice?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, break this down, because I love this so much, because I feel like everyone can start, communicating this way, like today.
100%. Yeah. And this can also be applied in family relationships, but let's keep it in the workplace.
Okay.
Let's say that, Jamie, you made a comment last Thursday that I heard about later. I wasn't in the room, but it didn't really go well. And I'm the supervisor here, and I need to have a conversation with you about it. I'm going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe I delay it a few days because I just want to procrastinate on that conversation because it's making me nervous thinking about it. Here's where it goes wrong, is when you come in and I go, "Hey, Jamie, how are you? You good? Yeah. How are your parents? Everybody good? How's the kids? Yeah, they're good. This weather's crazy, right? Hey, listen, and right there, the conversation's going south. Right now, Jamie's thinking, "Where are you going? What's happening here? Why am I brought in?"
Yeah.
And instead, what you need to do is set a frame around the conversation, meaning you need to think of one issue, one frame. Here's what it would look like in practice in this conversation with Jamie, is I would say, "Jamie," this is me saying what I want to talk about. "Jamie, I need to talk with you about the comments you made last Thursday."
So right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate. You just tell them exactly what you need to talk about. 2 is you tell them how you want to feel, how you want to feel at the end, after the conversation. Not before, not during, at the end. And you do that by saying, "And I think this conversation, I'd like to walk away with a better understanding of what happened," or "I'd like to walk away feeling like we have the same level of priorities." Or maybe it's, I want to walk away this conversation with the understanding that's not going to happen again. So it is you telling them at the end of it, "This is what I want it to look like. This is how I want to feel at the end of it. This is how I want it to happen." You're giving the conclusion before you even start talking. And then you get their buy-in. It's as easy as, "Sound good? Does that work? Can we do that?" Anything like that. It's kind of like they getting an invisible pen and signing it. And what Jamie's going to say is, okay, they're not going to say no. They say yes. And when you get that nod, it's an invisible contract. But now, no, we're not going to talk about Greg from accounting. We're not going to talk about what happened at lunchtime 2 months ago. We're not going to talk about anything else aside from exactly the frame that I laid out. I already told you what I want to talk about. I want to make sure this is how it ends. And then I'm getting your buy-in. And people don't like to break their word. So once they agree to it, they're in it. And it's a way that you can handle almost any conversation you can think of in the workplace.
This is so good. Jefferson, there are so many bad bosses out there.
Yeah, that's true.
There are so many people put in leadership roles that don't know how to communicate.
Yeah.
And there are so many really talented people or well-intentioned people, but they would have no idea how to have a conversation like this.
Right.
And it can just, wow, okay, this is good. So you say exactly right out of the gate what this is about. And
you can do it as an employee too.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
Yeah. Because I always say this, like managing up is as important to your career as managing down. How you manage up to bosses can be as important, if not more, than when you're the boss, how you're managing your teams. It's both directions. And a lot of people only see it as one direction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even if you have feedback that you're afraid to give, you don't see an opportunity to give it to somebody who they said something in an email and it hurt you. Yeah. And you're just going to, instead of just dealing with it, what I want you to do is use a frame. Yeah. So let's say you're the supervisor, I'm the employee, and you said something that it didn't feel right with me, and I've just been sitting with it, I've been living with it, and I need to tell you. So it's as easy as, hey, Jamie, I'd like to talk with you about the email you sent 2 days ago, and I want to walk away from this conversation with a better alignment on what you expect moving forward. I'm not asking you to solve it, or it could be, and I'm not asking you to solve anything. I just need you to hear me out, or I just need to feel understood on this. Can we do that? Simple as that. Now,
Did everyone hear that recipe?
Yeah,
Did everyone
yeah.
hear that frame, that 3-step recipe?
Yes.
What you just did now in the case of if you're the employee, I'm the
Exactly.
boss, how you handle it.
Yeah.
That 3-step. And same peer-to-peer, right?
Exactly. And and the thing is, it lines out the agreements, it lines out the
Yes.
expectations. There's no hidden, oh, what are they going to bring up? Or if you're a supervisor and I'm an employee and I'm wanting to talk with you, you're automatically thinking, oh, they're leaving, oh, they're looking for a different job. And what happens is you start to butt in. You try to fix the problem. You're looking for this, or you're looking for that. And they're going, no, you're not listening to me. And so they are listening. You're waiting until you're talking to figure out what you want to say.
This is so good too, because, there's just so much also conflict in the workplace or tension in the workplace.
Yes.
A lot of times just colleague to colleague. And it's like someone could do this, or they took your idea in the meeting, or they said this and that was not true, or whatever happened. And you're saying you can even approach it with this framework.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you can even,
Squash issues before they happen.
it's so quickly, and you can even prime rooms. So what I like to do, even in depositions, is I'll sit down and I'll put in a third person in terms of a room. Like we could say this, for example, I want to make sure that this is a room where I can be totally honest. Now, you see how I didn't put it on you? So I want to make sure I can be honest with you.
Yeah.
It doesn't say you at all. I'm talking about the room. So when you can put it in terms of priming the room, I want to make sure this is a place where I can be transparent, or I can tell you how I really feel. When you prime a room, it's a lot less direct. It's probably easier sometimes for people to slowly move into addressing those, let's say, the elephant in the room.
So good. I just had this premonition, so I'm just going to put it out there. There's so much more coming up in this episode. You are not going to want to miss it. But first, I wanted to share this with you. In life, you don't soar to the level of your hopes and dreams. You stay stuck at the level of your self-worth. When you build your self-worth, you change your entire life. And that's exactly why I wrote my new book, Worthy: How to Believe You Are Enough and Transform Your Life for You. If you have some self-doubt to destroy and a destiny to fulfill, Worthy is for you. In Worthy, you'll learn proven tools and simple steps that bring life-changing results, like how to get unstuck from the things holding you back, build unshakable self-love, unlearn the lies that lead to self-doubt, and embrace the truths that wake up worthiness, overcome limiting beliefs and imposter syndrome, achieve your hopes and dreams by believing you are worthy of them, and so much more. Are you ready to unleash your greatness and step into the person you were born to be? Imagine a life with zero self-doubt and unshakable self-worth. Get your copy of Worthy, plus some amazing thank you bonus gifts for you at worthybook.com or the link in the show notes below. Imagine what you'd do if you fully believed in you. It's time to find out with Worthy. Imagine, what would you do if you fully believed in you? My weekly free inspirational newsletter is packed with tips and tools to help you find out. It's called One-on-One with Jamie, and it's delivered right to your inbox each Tuesday morning. It's a love letter from me to you, from my soul to yours, and I hope it brings you the words and messages you need at just the right moment. Plus, when you're a part of my free inspirational newsletter community, you'll be the first to get behind-the-scenes content, inspirational messages, and be the first to learn about upcoming events and more. It's the place to be, and I sure hope you'll join me there. So if you're not on the list yet, you can sign up for free at jamiekernlima.com or click the link in the show notes below. And here's to becoming unstoppable together. And now more of this incredible conversation together. I just had this like premonition, so I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah.
Number one, your new book, The Next Conversation, Argue Less, Talk More. I've read it cover to cover. There's a million tools people can apply right now as bosses, as leaders, as employees, and already in there. And also, can we please request an entire franchise? The Next Conversation at work.
Yes,
Next Conversation in leadership. The Next Conversation in parenting. The next time, can we please do, and then can you expand your communication school?
Yes.
Sorry, not to put any more work on you right now because I can only imagine, but I'm just seeing it all right now because some of these frameworks, nobody has these. And this is a really big deal. I want to call something out, Jefferson, that I feel like is this age-old practice. And a lot of people say to do this, which they call the sandwich, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to talk to you about this. Okay, everyone listening, I'm sure you've heard of this. You have done it yourself, thinking it's the right thing, or have had someone do it to you, where you have to have a hard conversation. You do the sandwich. You give something positive. Oh, it's so great how you did it. Then you say the thing you actually want to say, which is the tough feedback, the thing they're doing wrong, the thing that's a disaster. Then you wrap it up by, and I'm just so grateful that you have a smile on your face. So it's that sandwich. It's the nice, and then the thing, and then the nice. Now, this has been around forever.
Yes.
People do this by default, and then they also call themselves great leaders when they do it. And you say, that's not the way. You say that is not the way. Okay, tell us why. I love this so much. I love this so much.
In my view, the compliment sandwich is hard to swallow. It has and it's because it has a bad aftertaste. It feels good in the moment, but as soon as I leave the room, it does not sit well with you, and it does not sit well with the other person because there's no authenticity. You set it up to just try and flatter them, at the same time throw in what could have been a bomb. I mean, this is what you want to do.
Yes.
Instead, you need to be very clear and lead with the negative. It's going to be easier than you think.
Yeah.
And let me tell you why. You want to lead with the negative, then add the positive. Add on the compliment afterwards. This is how we can do this. Instead of me bringing you in, and let's say I need to let you go. You've been a great employee. If you come in to the room, Jamie, and I said, look, Jamie, you've been great. We've really enjoyed having you here. But as soon as you hear the word but, they already know. Here it comes. The hammer's coming. Yeah. And so that just means everything you said before it was disingenuous. You're just kind of letting them.
But is one of my least favorite words. Every time we hear but. Yes.
Exactly. Just it deletes and erases and waters down everything you said before. Like, I love you, but.
Yes.
So instead of doing that, hey, listen, you've been great. You've been such an employee. We love having you. And you're such a bright light. But as soon as that happens, they already know. It's disingenuous. Instead, just lead with the difficult. And it could sound like this. Jamie, this is going to be difficult to hear. Or, Jamie, we need to talk about something that isn't fun. Or as simple as, this is going to be a tough conversation. It's going to be a difficult conversation. Or, I don't like this conversation. It's giving them a heads up right now. I'm not pushing on a compliment. I'm not giving false flattery. I'm not giving disingenuous praise. I'm telling you right up front, this thing can be fun. You need to understand that people are more emotionally resilient than you think if you just give them the tools to do it. And what you do is you're allowing them in that moment when I say, this is going to be fun to hear. It readies themselves. It allows them to kind of prepare for it. And their mind's going to think the worst case scenario right away because it was already going to happen. It was already going to happen. And when you give them just a pause, give them a 2 seconds, and it's, I need to let you go. So if, let's say I need to fire you. If it was, Jamie, this is not going to be fun to talk about. I need to let you go. And then you explain the reasons. Then you have the conversation. Then you say the hard stuff you needed to say. And then later you can add on let me tell you what, I've loved everything about having you here. If you ever need a referral, if there is something to be positive about, that's the truth. I mean, maybe it's a bad employee that you don't have anything positive. That's the case. Compliment sandwich was always going to go rotten in a hurry. It's gonna be expired real soon. Instead, when you are able to add on the compliments at the end and that praise, then it's kind of like it ends on a pick-me-up. Then it ends on you know what, I'm excited to see where you turn in life. I'm excited to see where you go, or you're going to do wonderful things. It's just not going to be here, Jamie. Whenever you can do that, then like, oh, okay. And now you're emboldening them. Now you're supporting them. Now you're giving them more. And the compliment sandwich, now I think it's time to shelf that.
Right now, I feel we're always in a challenging era for all different reasons in leadership, in business, in the workplace, as employees, as employers. So many people are starting their own small businesses at home, and then they have their first employee and the second employee, and they're like, oh, this is a job. And then they're dealing with, it's another job once you have a team.
Yes.
And you're dealing with all kinds of issues, and, leadership in any form is one of the most challenging things. So here's what I want to ask you is, I'm just going to come out and say this. I'm going to come out and say it.
Let's go.
Even though not everyone's going to like it. I'm going to come out and say it.
Yeah.
There is a theory that we are in what people are calling the Snowflake era, meaning this sort of addiction people have to getting attention for their problems, or being overly sensitive to everything, or getting offended by everything.
Yeah.
And I have known personally so many professors, teachers, employers, leaders, pastors who have contemplated staying in their leadership role because they feel like it's so delicate that if you do anything, if you breathe the wrong way and you touch, like, the snowflake melts and
you
it's
canceled.
just, you get canceled. Exactly. All of it. It's just been this, very, and I think a lot of people are rebelling against that in a lot of things, including the way they vote, including all kinds of things. So it's a whole thing. That aside, the point and the question I want to ask is, when we're in a position in the workplace where we're in an era where it feels like if we breathe the wrong way, it's going to offend somebody. And maybe we have to give tough feedback, or we have to communicate, and we have to lead. How do we do that? How do we, and maybe it's the tools you've been sharing already, because they're so clear and they're so direct and they're so precise. But how do we do that? How do we stay really strong leaders in our communication in an era where everyone's so easily offended, and leaders are scared out of their minds they're going to say the wrong thing or be canceled?
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
It's a real, there are people that deserve what they get. There are other people who do not deserve it. It goes both ways. For sure, there tends to be, and I feel like the pendulum is going to swing the other way, of being hypersensitive to being not really sensitive. How do you navigate that?
Yeah.
Well, one is, you don't want to let that water down who you are, or your integrity, or your character of saying what you feel like you need to say. The question is that something you need to say now? Is that something you need to agree on? Is this something we need to agree on now? But it's a very good tool of asking yourself, do I need to say it now? And am I the one to say it? Does it need to be said? So whenever you're able to ask yourself in that moment, is this something that I need to say? And am I the one to say it? And often it is the feeling that we feel like we're important enough that everybody has to hear our opinion. Everybody has to hear what we share and what we say. Like with people who go onto social media and use it as a megaphone and every other way. I'm not saying don't share what's true to you. That's what I'm saying. You always be true to yourself. 2 would be, use questions more than you use statements, particularly in the workplace. By that, I mean, if you're dealing with somebody who you know to be maybe a little bit hyper aware of what is sensitive to them, then you know that you have to adapt your communication style a little differently. So I might lead the conversation with, how can I give good feedback to you? What's the best way that I can give you feedback? Or how do you like certain ways? Or getting somebody's preferences into communication. When you're talking with X, Y, and Z, how do you prefer to get feedback? When you're able to take more of an audit of certain people's styles, I mean, it goes back to who you hire, what your mission is, what everybody's doing. When you can use questions and get more curious about the other person, it's going to be more fruitful for you, more productive than just going around scatter shooting every opinion that you have under the sun. Because there are some opinions out there that let's be honest, they should be kept where they were, and that's in your head before they came out of your mouth. But the people that are hypersensitive and hyper aware, you're not going to change them by telling them, I was just joking, or get over it. Are you too sensitive? That's going to feed the fire. That's not going to get rid of it. So the work begins before you open your mouth.
Before you open your mouth, do I need to share this now?
Yes.
And am I the right person to share this?
Yeah.
And I think that's genius because so many of us think, oh, well, I'm the leader, I'm the boss, I'm supposed to, but taking a step back and going,
Yes.
wait a minute, do I need to share this now?
Yeah.
And am I the right person?
Right.
And that's kind of a very thoughtful way to also just really, in this era we're in,
Yeah.
make sure it's not a big misstep.
You'll hear often somebody say, look, I just have to say, or look, I just need to say. No, you don't. No, there's nothing you have to say. That's something you want to say. It's something that you want people to hear it. The question is, who are you saying it for? Are you saying it to hear yourself? Are you saying it to make things worse? Most often when somebody says, I just have to say, it was only for them. It was an audience of one, not for the other person.
So good. Remember, this episode is not just for you and me. Please share this with every single person you know because it can change their life too. Make sure to pick up Jefferson's new book, The Next Conversation, Argue Less, Talk More. And check out his brand new Jefferson Fisher School of Communication. We'll link it in the show notes. And if you love today's episode too, well, my only ask is you please click on the follow or subscribe button for the show on the app that you're listening or watching it on, then give it a 5-star review, and then share this episode with everyone you believe in. Share it with another person in your life who could benefit from it. Post it and share it with others online or in your community who just might need the words and tools and lessons in this episode today. You never know whose life you're meant to change today by sharing this episode. Just thank you so much for joining me. And before you go, I wanted to share some words with you that couldn't be more true. You, right now, exactly as you are enough and fully worthy. You're worthy of your greatest hopes, your wildest dreams, and all the unconditional love in the world. It's an honor to welcome you to each episode of the Jamie Kern Lima Show. And here, I hope you'll come as you are and heal where you need, blossom what you choose, journey toward your calling, and stay as long as you like because you belong here. You are worthy, you are loved, you are love, and I love you. And I cannot wait to join you on the next episode of the Jamie Kern Lima Show. Do you struggle with negative self-talk? Living with a constant mental narrative that you're not good enough is exhausting. I know because I spent most of my life in that habit. The words you say to yourself about yourself are so powerful. And when you learn to take control over your self-talk, it's life-changing. And I wanted to give you a free resource that I created for you if this is something that could benefit your life. It's called 5 Ways to Overcome Negative Self-Talk and Build Self-Love. And it's a free how-to guide to overcome that negative self-talk, to build confidence and develop unshakable self-love so that you can dream big and keep going in the pursuit of your goals. Don't let self-sabotaging thoughts hinder your progress any longer. It's time to rewrite the script of your life, one filled with self-love, resilience, and unwavering belief. If you're ready to take charge of your narrative, build unwavering confidence, and empower yourself to persevere on the path to your dreams, you can grab your free guide to stop overthinking and learn to trust yourself at jamiekernlima.com/resources or click the link in the show notes below. Who you spend time around is so important as energy is contagious, and so is self-belief. And I'd love to hang out with you even more, especially if you could use an extra dose of inspiration, which is exactly why I've created my free weekly newsletter that's also a love letter to you, delivered straight to your inbox from me. If you haven't signed up to make sure that you get it each week, just go to jamiekernlima.com to make sure you're on the list, and you'll get your One-on-One with Jamie weekly newsletter and get ready to believe in you. If you're tired of hearing the bad news every single day and need some inspiration, some tips, tools, joy, and love hitting your inbox, I'm your girl. Subscribe at jamiekernlima.com or in the link in the show notes.
I am so excited for this book. You know why? Because it's going to save so many people. It's going to save people. Worthy, your new beautiful book, Worthy.
Get this book.
This book, I'm telling you, it's a book that can change anybody's life who picks it up. Anybody who's ever felt that they were not good enough, didn't measure up, something's missing in your life. I have to tell you, it's powerful. It's happening. It's worthy.
Imagine, what would you do if you fully believed in you? I went from struggling waitress facing nonstop rejection to founder of IT Cosmetics, a billion-dollar company, by learning how to overcome self-doubt and believe I am worthy of my hopes and dreams. And I'm sharing how you can too in my new book, Worthy, How to Believe You Are Enough and Transform Your Life. If you're ready to truly trust yourself and break through that barrier of self-doubt, and know that where you come from, or even where you are right now, doesn't determine where you're going, then Worthy is for you. It's time to go from doubting you're enough to knowing you're enough. It's time to step into all of who you are and into the person you were born to be. And it's time to believe that you are worthy of it. Because in life, we don't become what we want. We become what we believe we're worthy of. Join the Worthy movement today by grabbing your copy of Worthy anywhere books are sold. Then head to worthybook.com now for free gifts, including my 5-part course on becoming unstoppable and my 95-page Worthy Workbook action plan that teaches you how to implement the tools from the book into your real life right now.
Worthy is groundbreaking.
Yo, my God! Worthy, you are worthy.
This book is going to change lives.
This book literally will teach you how to actually feel worthy so that you can have the strength, you can have the confidence.
The lessons in this book and the strategies will change your life. You will never be the same again after you read this book.
Jamie's book, Worthy, is a must-read. It is going to inspire you, empower you, give you the hope that you need and the kick in the rear end that you deserve.
Jamie's book, Worthy, is incredible.
The gifts are going away, but they're all free right now on worthybook.com. It's such an honor to share this podcast together with you. And please note, I'm not a licensed therapist, and this podcast is not intended as a substitute for the advice of a physician, professional coach, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. If you love this incredible episode with Jefferson Fisher, I promise you, you're also going to love this life-changing episode of the Jamie Kern Lima Show right here. It's up next just for you.